have a seat. Hello, my name is Pie, and welcome to the speaking section of the IELTS exam. Now, for marking purposes, I will be recording this interview. Is that okay?
Yes.
Alright. Well, let's start with your name. Could you please tell me your full name?
My name is also Pie.
Oh.
Just Pie.
We have the same
Right.
name, that's nice. May I see your identification, please?
Cool. There you go.
Alright, thank you. Okay, I will ask you some questions and this will take around 12 to 15 minutes. Are you ready to begin? Alright. Let's talk about keeping fit. Do you try to keep fit and how? It's funny that you should ask. Well, I've been planning to do that, to get back in shape for a while now, but I haven't really started. So to answer the question, do I keep fit? I guess presently, no, but I have planned to get back to, say, playing football. I used to play a lot of football when I was younger. Actually, back in high school, I played for my high school. I was quite fit back then, and to be honest, I sort of miss that. I miss the more fit me. Do you think it's important for young people to keep fit? Do I think it's important for young people to keep fit? Well, I would say that it's important for people of all ages to keep fit, but for young people, probably particularly more so, because if you don't say get into that habit when you were young, then you're likely never going to get into it, and that goes for just about everything. So if you want to be able to grow up into someone who, let's say, maintains his or her fitness level in the future, I would say that yeah, it's a good idea to start young. And so I think it's important for young people to keep fit. Alright? Is sport compulsory for school children in your country? Yes, sport is compulsory in my country for school children. Actually, all schools would have at least one PE class per class, per level, all the way up until 12th grade, actually. And they would, you would get to do different activities, different sports, and I remember doing golf once when I was in high school, also softball. And without those classes, I probably would never really consider those sports so much. But yes, sport is compulsory for school children in my country. Do you do any sports, and which do you like best? Well, like I have just mentioned earlier, currently I'm not really doing anything to keep myself fit, which is something I'm ashamed of, to be honest. But when I can get around to that, I would like to do some weight trainings and also playing football. I used to play football like twice a week, and that was like a couple of years back. But yeah, recently I haven't been doing much of that. So I do like football the most, and I think that it's very common for most Thai men. Not sure about women. We have in Thailand here, we have this little 8-a-side football field just about everywhere, and like practically you can go out there and you can see two of these football fields, not the full size one, the mini ones, right next to one another. Thai men just love playing football or soccer, of course, as it's called in America. Have you ever watched a sporting event live? Not recently, and I don't really get to go to a sporting event live much, but I remember there was this one time about 5 or 6 years ago. I went to a live football match. It's a Thai Premier League, and it was Muang Thong United versus I don't remember who the other team were, but anyhow, yeah, the stadium was packed because Muang Thong was playing at home, and Muang Thong being one of the bigger teams in Thailand, obviously. And though I did not really cheer for either one of them particularly, I wasn't a fan of either of them, but I could enjoy the vibe, the overall environment of a live sporting event. Alright, so that's the end of part 1. Now for part 2, I'm going to give you a card. The card will have some questions. You will have 1 minute to prepare your answers for these questions, and then you'll have 1 to 2 minutes to speak, okay? I'll tell you when to start and when to stop. Alright, so here's the card. Please don't flip it over yet. You can use your pen and note sheets right there in front of you if you wish to take some notes, and I'll tell you when to begin. Your 1 minute begins now. An important decision that I had to make, I would say that this is actually the most important decision that I've made ever. It was when I was 18 and I had to choose whether I would go abroad to study. Back then I didn't really want to. It was more like my mother's decision. So the situation was that I was very comfortable with my surroundings and friends that I had back then. I didn't want to move, to have to relocate, and then to have to adjust myself to a new environment. So my decision was sort of firm to not go, but then my mother helped me. She was kind of forcing me a little bit, but then looking back on hindsight now, I think that was the best decision ever made. I didn't say I ever made because I sort of partially made. My mom made most of it in my life. That was the best decision ever. I got to learn new things, new cultures, experience, and I got to learn the language, the English language, all of this from going to college abroad. And it was, I could say that it was an eye-opening experience. So yes, that was the most important decision I've ever made, and it was a good one, fortunately. Alright, so that's the end of part 2. May I have the card back, please? Thank you. Now we will begin part 3. I'm going to ask you some questions on a similar topic. Are you ready to begin? Alright. Do you think it's harder to make decisions nowadays because we have so many choices? Do I think it's harder to make decisions nowadays with all these choices around? Well, for me, at least, making a decision has always been something that is very difficult for me. Not just because you don't have to talk about the many choices we have now. Let's just talk about left or right. I have a hard time making any sort of decisions at all, and I usually get help. So from my personal point of view, with the choices having become more and more nowadays, I would say making decisions is not easy. What are the disadvantages of asking for other people's advice when making a decision? Well, I believe that when people ask other people for advice on making a decision, they basically do so, and this is including myself, do so to find a second or third or fourth opinion to help them to support whatever they already have, the choice they already have in their mind. So the disadvantages would be if those second or third or fourth or fifth opinions are against what you have in mind, then that would complicate the whole decision making process. But of course there is the plus side, because if those second and third and people's opinions, suggestions are going the same way as what you have in mind already, then you feel more confident in making a decision. At least that's the case for me. Why do you think some people are better at making decisions than others? Why do I think some people are better at making decisions? Well, I believe people who are good at making decisions are born leaders. And I know that I am not one. I've done this personality test. I don't remember what it's called exactly, but it's the one that tells you whether you are a lion or an otter or a golden retriever or a beaver. And as you could probably guess, a lion is, a leader. It's a leader type, and people who are lions, they tend to be able to make decisions on the go, and they are the risk it kind. I'm, on the other hand, am not. So if I have to make a guess, I would say that's the reason behind those who can make decisions better than others. Do you think children should be given the opportunity to make their own decisions? And if so, what kind of decisions? Do I think children should be given the opportunity to make their own decisions? Well, it's a yes and no. While I do believe that great decision makers are born leaders, like I've mentioned before, I do also believe that you can raise people to become leaders. And if you want your children to become good leaders and good at making decisions in the future, then obviously you have to train them, to let them do it at the younger age. And so I would say it's a good idea to have children, to allow children to make their own decisions, but not on everything. You have to put a limitation on that, obviously. Like, for example, you probably wouldn't want your children to decide which school they would like to attend, but maybe for something like dinner or vacation destination, or even their own hobbies or sports, things like these, smaller things, they should be able to make the decision by themselves. Some people say we only learn by making mistakes. To what extent do you agree? Well, that's a funny one. Some people say we only learn by making mistakes. Do I agree? Well, let's put it this way. I've made more mistakes than I care to remember, and I can't really say that I've learned from all of them. But so I would say you can. No, I do not agree with that. You can learn from obviously history, from the past, from other people's mistakes. You can learn from many other ways. But learning from your own mistake, obviously, that is one way to learn. But to go so far as to say we can only learn by making mistakes, I wouldn't say it. I can't say that I agree with that. Okay, alright, that's the end of part 3, and that's the end of the speaking part of the IELTS exam. Thank you very much, and good luck with the rest of your exam. And your grades will be posted in about 10 business days. Nice to meet you, Pie. Thank you. ถ้าคุณชอบเกร็ดความรู้ภาษาอังกฤษและเรื่องราวมากมายสพเประนี่นั่นโน่นในสไตล์ของผมอาจารย์พายแว่นขาวติดตามเราได้ที่นี่แต่ถ้าอยากจะเรียนภาษาอังกฤษกับผมเพื่อเตรียมการสอบไม่ว่าจะเป็น IELTS TOEIC หรืออะไรก็แล้วแต่ inbox มาได้ที่ Facebook IngLogic ที่นี่